And if you don't know, my mom was originally on The Real House of Atlanta. So, I've been a feature of Oh Bravo a few times, but this is my first time being the main character. Y'all, this wasn't a leak, it was a detonation. Colman Domingo has unleashed a revelation so severe it's ripped straight through the Burruss family narrative, leaving the entire entertainment industry scrambling to process the fallout. What once existed as quiet suspicion and off-record murmurs has now burst into public view, transforming a sealed courtroom into the epicenter of a scandal no one was prepared for. Genetic reports, buried conversations, long-guarded recollections. Every fragment has reportedly crossed the line from rumor into record. Riley Burruss is no longer framed by speculation because Colman Domingo now claims paternity and a truth Kandi Burruss, allegedly protected for years, has been dragged into daylight. The room reportedly froze, but the stillness didn't last because disorder followed almost instantly. Flash bulbs fired, expressions stiffened, and the internet erupted before anyone could regain control. Colman asserts that Kandi maintained two realities at once, privately bound to him while publicly presenting a life tied to Russell Spencer. He insists every message, every shared moment, every concealed chapter has been preserved, and is prepared to reveal it all if pushed into silence. According to his account, marriage didn't end the secrecy because even after Kandi wed Todd, the connection allegedly continued behind closed doors. Riley's origins, the constructed narrative, and years of concealed deception are now portrayed as fully exposed. Viewers are stunned as timelines are replayed, statements re-examined, and every detail dissected in real time. This has moved far beyond celebrity chatter, becoming a fact that they said that I set him up. Okay, I did not set him up. That James Bond, that's what I call setting up out. My mom wants Todd to be doing something wrong so bad that anything that anybody says about him, she's going to be excited to hear about it. Buckle up because what people once traded in quiet speculation has now detonated into a public spectacle no one was prepared for. The courtroom scene that existed only in rumors has reportedly transformed into a Hollywood-scale implosion as Colman Domingo allegedly stepped forward with information capable of destabilizing the entire Burruss family narrative. What followed, witnesses claim, drained the air from the room, a charged mix of disbelief, grief, and exposed emotion as a secret buried for years was finally dragged into the open. Riley Burruss, a name audiences watched mature in plain sight. A young woman wrapped in an assumed legacy, was suddenly cast into a reality few could process. She is allegedly Colman Domingo's biological child. Every lens caught the fallout, every expression froze, and each hushed gasp carried the weight of decades unraveling at once. Colman allegedly outlined a hidden existence, accusing Kandi Burruss of maintaining two carefully balanced worlds. One life, he claimed, was curated for the public eye, while another operated quietly beneath the surface, protecting connections no one was meant to see. He asserted that the relationship publicly associated with Russell Spencer functioned as misdirection, while private involvement with him continued, tracked, recorded, and preserved. Each disclosure reportedly intensified the atmosphere as though the room itself braced for impact. The tension reportedly peaked when Colman alleged that even after Kandi's marriage to Todd, secrecy remained intact. Private encounters, concealed exchanges, and moments that could collapse everything if revealed. What stunned observers most was that these accusations weren't framed as isolated incidents. They were presented as a layered pattern of betrayal sustained over years. Riley's public identity, according to the claims, had been shaped by a storyline that concealed her true origins, masking reality behind a meticulously constructed facade. Colman allegedly stated that every message, every image, every intimate recollection had been archived. Evidence capable of dismantling long-standing assumptions. He portrayed Kandi as someone navigating parallel lives, one visible to millions. Riley's shock, the collective disbelief, and the tragedy of secrets preserved for decades combined into a spectacle both devastating and hypnotic. As tension reportedly reached its peak, Colman Domingo allegedly reiterated the scope of what he possessed. Records of moments, messages, and interactions preserved without exception. The implication was unmistakable. If released, every accepted narrative surrounding the Burruss family could shift overnight. Audiences struggled to process the cascade of claims, each one carrying heavier emotional fallout than the last. This is not simply a story of hidden relationships or disputed parentage. Allegedly, it is a chronicle of betrayal, identity, and the destructive force of truth delayed too long. As debate rages online, millions continue to analyze, argue, and emotionally invest in what many are calling the most intense chapter in the Burruss family saga. Colman Domingo allegedly insists the evidence is irrefutable, that facts will outpace denial, and that Riley's real story can no longer remain buried. The courtroom, by all accounts, became a stage for Hollywood's most intimate drama, a place where secrets years in the making collided with exposure. Every stunt glance, every sharp inhale, every burst of flash photography marked the beginning of consequences that cannot be reversed. The emotional shockwave is already spreading. Buckle up, because this is only the opening act. Allegedly, what surfaced was merely the first layer, with the viral aftershocks just beginning. Riley's identity, Kandi's alleged secrecy, and Colman Domingo's claimed proof have set a new standard for courtroom spectacle. Raw, tragic, and explosively human. Millions are watching, millions are reacting, and millions remain transfixed by a storm that has only just been unleashed. The room was still absorbing the first shockwave, the silence heavy and unsettled when Colman Domingo allegedly leaned in, his posture firm, but burdened by years of withheld truth. Attention locked onto him instantly, every stare unbroken, every breath held, as if the next words alone could fracture what little stability remained. According to the claims, he spoke without restraint, outlining how Kandi Burruss allegedly engineered a flawless public persona while concealing a private reality tangled in secrecy, misdirection, and calculated concealment that few could have imagined existed. Allegedly, Colman asserted that Riley's entire upbringing rested on a manufactured storyline, each version of events carefully shaped to preserve appearances. He claimed the truth of her origins was deliberately withheld while those closest family members, friends, even Mama Joyce were steered away from reality. Observers say the weight of that accusation rippled through the room, and online reactions ignited within minutes as disbelief spread. For many, the most unsettling part was the idea that Riley's highly visible childhood unfolded beneath a shadow she never consented to carry. According to Colman's alleged account, the revelations didn't end there. He referenced preserved exchanges, archived messages, and recorded moments said to span years of secret encounters and private communication. He allegedly framed Kandi's association with Russell Block Spencer as deliberate camouflage, while his own connection to her continued quietly out of sight. Each claim reportedly landed harder than the last until the courtroom fell into a stunned stillness, the gravity of the allegations settling like weight on the air. Colman allegedly described the emotional strain of watching Riley grow, aware that her world was shaped by omissions and half-truths. He claimed Kandi maintained two versions of herself, one presented to the public, the other hidden behind closed doors. Moments of heartbreak, interrupted connections, and years spent holding information capable of dismantling public belief were all reportedly laid bare. With each statement, the story deepened into something heavier than scandal, something closer to tragedy. He further alleged that Kandi's marriage to Todd did not close the door on what had come before. According to his claims, secrecy endured beyond vows with continued contact and concealed interactions. Colman reportedly stated that every exchange was preserved, forming a detailed timeline that if exposed could unravel the entire history at once. The courtroom listened motionless as the scope of alleged duplication and concealment came into focus. The emotional toll on Riley, allegedly caught at the center of it all, was described as devastating. She was reportedly forced to confront the truth of her identity alongside the realization that the life she understood was incomplete. Online audiences immediately began dissecting footage and reactions, treating each frame like evidence of a world collapsing in real time. This, observers say, transcended gossip. It became an emotional rupture felt far beyond the courtroom. Colman allegedly spoke about the discipline required to retain proof, cataloging memories, preserving conversations, safeguarding material that supported his claims. He reportedly warned that without intervention, those private records could be made public, exposing years of hidden behavior. The implication alone reportedly sent a chill through the room, a reminder of how destructive long-buried truths can become once released. The alleged testimony also hinted that the story did not belong solely to the past. Colman allegedly claimed the dynamics he described continued to echo into the present, carrying consequences still unfolding. He emphasized that preserved records held the power to reframe history, challenge long-held perceptions, and permanently alter how the Burruss family is seen. Court insiders reportedly described the testimony as emotionally volatile and deeply unsettling. Colman allegedly spoke of the pain of watching Riley move through a life shaped by omission, while Kandi maintained a composed exterior before the public. Each claim, each preserved detail reportedly intensified a narrative that had been quietly smoldering for decades until the courtroom itself felt like the stage of a real-life drama too heavy to ignore. Online response was immediate. Clips circulated, hashtags surged, and millions began analyzing every moment with forensic intensity. What began as a private family reckoning rapidly transformed into a global spectacle. Riley's confrontation with her origins, Kandi's alleged duplicity, and Colman's preserved proof combined into a story that refused to be dismissed. Colman allegedly concluded with a stark reminder the evidence he held was tangible. He reportedly claimed possession of messages, recordings, and private moments capable of validating every layer of accusation. According to observers, he suggested this was only the opening movement, a warning of deeper exposure yet to come. The room reportedly remained frozen, absorbing the enormity of what had been placed on record. The alleged narrative painted a portrait of betrayal and secrecy so severe it felt almost unreal. Its implications stretched beyond one family, illustrating the damage inflicted when truth is delayed too long. Viewers remained fixed on each development as the alleged disclosures continued to unfold, transforming private pain into public reckoning. At its center stood Riley, a life allegedly shaped by withheld truths and curated versions of reality. She was reportedly confronted with the full scope of what had been hidden. Forced to reconcile identity with revelation, the courtroom became a place of emotional collision where secrecy and truth met with devastating force. Colman Domingo's alleged testimony reportedly closed with an unspoken warning: preserved truth cannot remain buried indefinitely. The potential consequences for everyone involved were immense. Every archived message, every documented moment, carried the power to reshape relationships and redefine public understanding overnight. The aftermath, both emotional and public, was unlike anything seen before. Debate erupted, analysis intensified, and the courtroom drama expanded into a worldwide fixation. Riley's identity, Kandi's image, and Colman's long-silenced account fused into a story marked by heartbreak and viral intensity. And this allegedly is far from the end. The revelations, the evidence, and the emotional reckoning are still unfolding. What comes next promises deeper fractures, heavier consequences, and truths capable of shaking everything that follows. The tension had barely eased before it spiked again. Just as the courtroom seemed to catch its breath, Colman Domingo allegedly introduced another layer to his account, and the atmosphere reportedly collapsed back into silence. Witnesses say people leaned forward instinctively, hands tightening on armrests as anticipation and disbelief thickened the air. According to the allegations, Colman began outlining Kandi Burruss' private strategies in a way that felt almost cinematic, intricate, calculated, and deeply unsettling. He allegedly claimed that for years she operated in parallel realities, not only concealing Riley's origins, but orchestrating a network of relationships so deliberate that deception itself became routine. This, he suggested, wasn't impulsive secrecy. It was a long-running performance designed to manage perception, steer narratives, and preserve her image at any cost. Colman allegedly recounted moments of betrayal carried out in silence, encounters he claims were never left to memory alone. According to his testimony, texts, videos, and personal records were carefully retained, documenting a hidden timeline few were ever meant to see. While Kandi's association with Russell blocked Spencer played out in public view, Colman alleged their private connection unfolded simultaneously, concealed from everyone, including, he implied, Todd at the time of marriage. He reportedly described secret meetings that resurfaced even after wedding vows, and the courtroom allegedly felt the weight of years of concealed truth crashing down at once. The emotional gravity of those claims reportedly stunned the room. Colman allegedly spoke about the pain of watching Riley grow up without knowing the full truth of her identity. He framed the deception not only as a personal betrayal, but as one inflicted on Riley herself, a child shaped by narratives she never chose. With each statement, the story reportedly shifted from scandal to tragedy, leaving the courtroom transfixed by a sense of irreversible damage unfolding in real time. According to the allegations, Colman directly accused Kandi of intentional misrepresentation. He reportedly claimed she misled Mama Joyce, Riley, and close confidants alike, adjusting stories to protect her public standing while concealing reality. Every conversation, every interaction, every hidden moment, he alleged, was preserved and ready to surface if required. Observers say the boldness of these accusations left the courtroom reeling as social media simultaneously ignited and clips of the testimony spread at viral speed. Colman allegedly suggested the impact of this deception did not end in the past. He hinted that the ripple effects were ongoing, continuing to shape lives, particularly Riley's. According to his account, once the truth surfaced, it had the power to reframe her entire understanding of herself, rewrite relationships, and force a reckoning with years of withheld reality. Fans and analysts reportedly dissected every pause and inflection, transforming each second into global commentary. He then allegedly traced the progression of their secret relationship from early encounters to private moments shielded from public awareness. Texts, videos, and archived material were said to form a detailed chronology that directly contradicted the image presented to the world. Colman reportedly described the emotional strain of existing within a double narrative, one public, one hidden, and how that duplicity reshaped everyone involved. The courtroom, witnesses say, could feel the emotional pressure intensifying with every claim. The tone reportedly darkened further as Colman allegedly addressed the psychological impact on Riley. He described an upbringing framed by appearances layered with omissions she was never equipped to question. The idea of a child's reality built on carefully managed facades reportedly struck the room with particular force. Colman emphasized the moral and emotional consequences of such prolonged concealment, leaving observers visibly shaken. According to the allegations, Kandi's ability to maintain secrecy required constant orchestration. Colman reportedly described deliberate control over public appearances, messaging, and even social media narratives to ensure suspicion never surfaced. He claimed this manipulation extended into every relationship she maintained, balancing visibility with concealment and control with intimacy. The picture painted was one of strategic deception on a scale rarely alleged so openly. As each revelation landed, suspense reportedly tightened its grip on the room. Colman allegedly warned that what he possessed was more than documentation. It was leverage capable of altering reputations and reshaping public understanding. The magnitude of that implication reportedly silenced the courtroom, making the potential fallout unmistakably clear. Online reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Millions reportedly replayed clips, shared screenshots, and debated implications with relentless intensity. Riley's identity, Kandi's alleged secrecy, and Colman's preserved material quickly dominated global conversation. The emotional charge, betrayal, heartbreak, and revelation elevated the story beyond routine gossip into something far more consuming. Colman allegedly stressed that evidence does not fade. Every preserved exchange, he claimed, stood as proof of years spent managing truth and illusion. He reportedly asserted that these records could dismantle manipulated narratives and illuminate reality after decades of concealment. The courtroom by accounts held its breath under the weight of that possibility. The emotional toll was not confined to those directly involved. Viewers reportedly absorbed the clash between private truth and public image as it unfolded in real time. The spectacle became a collision of pain, secrecy, and exposure. Gripping, unsettling, and impossible to ignore. Colman allegedly made clear that this was only the beginning, that deeper consequences still loomed. As the testimony reached its apparent conclusion, the room reportedly sensed finality without closure. The implications stretched far beyond the immediate players, representing years of manipulation and emotional complexity, now facing exposure. Colman allegedly reiterated the existence of evidence, the reality of Riley's biological truth, and the cost of sustained deception. His words, witnesses say, lingered heavily, signaling that perception itself could shift with each new disclosure. Audiences remained locked in. Every update was analyzed, every clip replayed, every reaction scrutinized. The narrative of secrecy and betrayal continued to captivate, fueling viral debate and emotional investment worldwide. Colman Domingo's claims, Riley's identity, and Kandi's alleged double life fused into a story too charged to dismiss. By the end, the courtroom reportedly understood one thing clearly. This was far from finished. Each revelation carried the power to reshape relationships, redefine reputations, and echo far into the future. The intensity of the moment cemented its place as a defining scandal, tragic, volatile, and emotionally devastating. And as the world watched, transfixed, it became clear that the next chapter could be even more explosive than the last. Buckle up, because what surfaced in that courtroom is only the surface layer of something far more volatile. What allegedly unfolded was not a conclusion, but the opening fracture of an emotional collapse that continues to spread outward. Viewers everywhere are reportedly still trying to process the force of Colman Domingo's claims as the implications ripple far beyond the room where they were spoken. According to the allegations, long-buried moments, concealed connections, and guarded truths tied to Kandi, Burruss, Riley, and years of secrecy have now been forced into public view. The reaction was immediate and worldwide timelines flooded. Clips replayed, every pause and gesture scrutinized as the story ignited into full viral momentum. Riley's identity, once shielded by carefully layered narratives, is now exposed, and the emotional weight of that revelation has become impossible to look away from. Allegedly, Colman's insistence that messages, recordings, and memories remain preserved has reframed the situation entirely. These claims are no longer described as background detail, but as a live wire, material capable of detonating long-standing public perceptions. With each alleged disclosure, Kandi's meticulously managed image appears to fracture further, transforming what was once private turmoil into a spectacle unfolding in real time. Observers say the stakes have escalated dramatically. Legal tension, personal fallout, and decades of concealed truth now dominate global conversation. Nothing about this moment feels settled. If anything, it feels like the pressure is only building. At the center of it all stands Riley, whose emotional reality has reportedly shifted overnight. What viewers are witnessing is not just scandal, but the human cost of sustained deception playing out under public scrutiny. Reactions range from anger to disbelief to raw empathy as audiences struggle to reconcile image with allegation. Colman's alleged warning that withheld evidence could still be released has only intensified the unease. The sense that another reveal could arrive at any moment keeps